Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, we talk about all things fandom and we do so in a positive way. And that's something that appeals to you. You've come to the right place and we're so glad to have you here. Now let's jump right into it. It's Tuesday, so it's time for us to talk about horror again. And right now, one of the topics that is the hottest, that I keep hearing more and more stuff about, is Halloween Ends. So we're going to be talking about the latest news about Halloween Ends. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so Nick Castle, who is the original OG Michael Myers, has chimed in on the ending of Halloween Ends. And he has said it's going to be a shocker. Now, this could coincide with what Jamie Lee Curtis has already told us about the possibility that this ending will make everyone mad, or what he's saying could be true, and it could be the most shocking thing that could happen in this franchise. So we're going to look at a couple of things we've talked about in the past on this channel, and then I'm going to offer up a new theory that I've been hearing a lot more lately that's gaining traction. So let's very briefly look at a couple of the theories that we've talked about before, and then we'll get into the new one, and we'll have enough information where you guys can give me your opinion in the comments. So let's get started. So number one theory is that the radio tower is going to be this overarching event. That it's somehow either going to be controlling Michael Myers' mask. That's theory one about the radio tower. It's going to be controlling Michael Myers somehow via his mask or through other means. Then you have the fact that if that happens, there's got to be an ending at the radio tower. So we already know that that's a thing. We know that the radio tower should play a big part. The other theory about the radio tower is that Michael Myers will kill a DJ in the radio tower. Someone who works for a radio station will die. Well, the thing about that, as I stated, was that I don't think that that's a big enough scene to really shock anybody. That seems more like an opening to me than it does a finish. Unless, of course, it happens at the very end. Well, then if it happens at the very end, then once more we have a scenario where Michael Myers and Laurie Strode would be at the radio tower fighting. The other things that have been talked about is that the possibility that all of it could be a big dream. And that one's interesting because how far back do you go? You go all the way back to the 1978 movie, and everything thereafter is a complete and utter dream. This opens up the floodgates for a whole new franchise. This opens up the floodgates for everything to be canon only because it's a dream. That's what I've heard people say about that, is that if it turns out to be a dream, that none of it's going to be canon. And actually, that's not entirely true. If it turns out that everything after the 1978 original movie is a dream, then we are looking at a scenario now where we're going to have the opportunity to move Michael Myers into a whole new arena of events. And it doesn't take away from the fact that Laurie Strode's story happened. It just all happened in her head. Then we have the theory that pretty much states that the whole thing is witchcraft. That Thorn is coming back. And you know Thorn is from The Curse of Michael Myers and that whole story arc. And a lot of people don't want that story arc back, but if it's done right, I don't see where anybody's really going to cry too much if they can do it cool. After all, remember, even though it was done before, the thing of it is that this is a brand new timeline. Unless everything's a dream. If everything's a new timeline and they bring back Thorn and they can do this in a cool way, then I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But the idea of bringing witchcraft into it is something that would make a lot of people mad. Also could be something that could have this shock twist ending that Nick Castle is talking about. So those are a couple of the theories we've talked about in the past. Then the other theory is that Laurie Strode will die and her granddaughter will take over. And that going forward, like I said in that video, that going forward, I'm not sure I like that idea, only because if they do that, then they have to bring the granddaughter back for the next movie. And then what do? Kill her off right away? I would almost rather them do that. If they bring her back, I'd almost rather them kill her off right away. That's just me. I want Michael Myers to be able to travel and go to new places, as I've said many times. Which brings us to this new theory. The new theory states that Michael Myers and Laurie Strode will battle. And at the very end of the battle, the granddaughter will turn and stab Laurie Strode. Now let's talk about that a little bit more, because if you do that, there's certain things that probably have to happen. You can't just throw something like that at people and expect them to go, oh, this is wonderful, especially being that we've done it before. We saw this scenario happen in Return of Michael Myers, and in order to do it again, well, now we're going to have to do something extraordinary to make that event stick, to make it look cool. So Allison watches as Laurie Strode and Michael Myers have a drag-out fight. There's lots of blood, probably. Lots of casualties throughout this movie. Halloween Ends, I want to be probably the bloodiest of them all. Because here's the thing. This whole movie, if this event happens, has got to be one big fight between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. The body count could be amazing. It could be the biggest body count ever. But when it comes down to it, Michael Myers and Laurie Strode have to fight. And the radio tower seems like a good place. Because the radio tower, right? So they're having this fight at the radio tower. And you have to realize that Allison at this point is broken. Allison at this point is not really all there anymore. She's lost everything. She's lost her mom. Her grandma, she's kind of dealt with losing in the past, but she always wanted her family to get back together. But now that can't happen because her mom has been killed. 4 years has passed since that event. She's going to be in a much darker place. Say what you will, but that changes a person. And especially in a violent death like that, you're going to see a change in that person. Her ability to cope with that event is going to determine the end of this movie. So the scenario where it is shocking, where she could be the one that turns and kills Laurie Strode, that would have to stem from this postpartum depression, from this loss, from her sense of believing that maybe Laurie Strode is responsible for all the bad things that have happened in her life. Her mom and her grandma being separated from each other, not talking to each other. The fact that her dad died. The fact that her mom died. And now she's sitting here and have to watch Laurie Strode go after this guy yet again. And finally, she just kind of has enough. And she snaps. And right as Michael Myers is staring into the eyes of Laurie Strode, and Laurie Strode is about to deliver the final blow, Allison stabs her right in the back. Now, I know that would make a lot of people mad, but it would also be probably one of the most shocking things they could do. Because now you have to deal with Michael Myers. Does she turn around and finish the job? That's potentially possible. She turns around to Michael Myers after watching Laurie fall, and she finishes the job herself. Or does she leave him there, not caring anymore, believing that, hey, whatever happens, it's over for me. I don't care what happens to him, and I don't care what the consequences of this night are. And we see her walk off, and Michael Myers is laying there in the end. Or another option, she stabs Laurie Strode. She goes to turn to stab Michael Myers, and he isn't there. I wanted to discuss that theory because that theory's kind of one of the more shocking ones that I've heard. The idea that it's not going to be Michael Myers that kills Laurie Strode, but Allison herself. And then the repercussions of that would take us into whatever the next installment of Halloween may be. Does Michael Myers then go after her? Does he forget about her? Because at that point, is she really the final girl? We could visit her in an insane asylum where she has the eyes of the devil as well. But ultimately, Michael Myers is your boogeyman. And Michael Myers would probably be the one to continue the series going forward. If they would do this ending, as shocking as it would be, I wouldn't want to see her as our next killer. I wouldn't want to see her put on the mask and suddenly be Michael Myers. Okay, that wouldn't make a lot of sense. However, her doing this, ending up in the insane asylum, maybe Michael Myers ends up in there with her. Maybe he goes and finds her and kills her off in the next movie. Or, like I said, maybe he ignores her completely and we never hear from her again. That's a possibility as well. So let me know what you think about that. About any of the theories we've talked about. What are your hopes and dreams for Halloween Ends? Do you like this theory? Which theory do you like the best? Alright, so don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think, what your favorite theories are, what your least favorite theories are. Don't forget to share this with all of your friends so they get the same great content you're getting. And then don't forget that Miko wants us to have more subscribers. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video. And remember, friends, at the end of the day, fandom is family.